crafty friends, welcome back here to another card making video on my channel. So today we are making this super cute high fall wreath card that features some exclusive products from scrapbook.com. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much scrapbook.com for sending me these dies to test out, and the stamp set as well. The stamp set's called High Fall, and if you're crafting along with me today, the die set I'm using is called Autumn Leaves. So for this project today, as you can see here, I've gone ahead and pulled out a collection, basically a rainbow's worth of ink pads of some Catherine Pooler inks. And I've also gone ahead and selected just one of those leaf dies from the scrapbook.com leaf die set. And I'm actually going to go ahead and cut that out about 12 times. So to save you some time there, I did go ahead here and just jump ahead now that I've gone ahead and die cut out all of those leaves. So next up here, I have a white card panel here for the front of my card. It's trimmed just slightly smaller than an A2 size card front. And I'm just going ahead and lining up the word high near the top of the card, but making sure I have plenty of space around it for my wreath to go. And for this high, because it is a bold, pretty bold sentiment, I am going to go ahead and use my Misty for this one, just so that I can go ahead and stamp this a couple times. So for this particular project, I did go ahead and use the Cummerbund ink from Catherine Pooler. It's a beautiful kind of light blue color, but really you could go ahead and use any of the rainbow of colors that you pick for your wreath. Any one of those will coordinate because each of these colors is going to be in our finished project. In fact, I did make a few similar cards to this one, which I'm going to go ahead and post on my blog, and you can feel free to check those out if you want to see some kind of different color options for these cards. So now that the high has been stamped, just went ahead and cleaned and removed that stamp from my Misty, and now I picked out the word fall from that same stamp set. I'm just going ahead and I'm positioning it kind of off the right and off the bottom of that word high, so it's going to hang off here just a teensy bit. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that up using some black ink. So for my black ink today, I'm just going ahead and using some Detail Black. It's just a Pink Fresh Studio mini ink cube, but really any black ink here would work just fine for this. So I just went ahead and lightly stamped that just a couple of times to get a nice crisp impression. So the next step of this card is really the most time-consuming step, and that's going to be ink blending all of these leaves. So as you can see here, one by one, I'm just picking up each of those leaves and using a Catherine Pooler blender brush and inking them each up with a different color ink pad. I did want to note here that because I'm using so many inks colors here today, I don't have enough brushes for one for every color of ink. So sometimes, you know, I do have to use a brush for more than one ink pad color. So that's where you'll see me kind of rubbing any excess ink off these brushes, either on a microfiber cloth or on that piece of paper, just to test to make sure all the ink is gone before I kind of move into the next family of ink pads. But that being said, I do, like I say, try to keep to kind of a color family for each of the brushes. So for example, my green brush I only use for green inks, yellow for yellow, pink for pinks, etc. So I'm just kind of making my way here through the rainbow of ink colors, inking up each one. I did want to note that I am kind of gradient blending these. So near the tips of the leaf, I'm trying to make the ink color a little bit more intense and kind of fading out down towards the bottom stem. I thought this would add just a little bit of fun dimension in my finished project once my wreath is assembled. So at this point here, I had pulled out 11 ink colors, and I went ahead and inked up as well 11 of those leaf die cuts. So now that all the leaves have been inked, I just wanted to take a second here to show you that I kind of folded and floofed, for lack of a better word here, each of these leaves just to give them a little bit of dimension. So I'm kind of pinching and folding them along the crease in the middle to kind of give them that kind of V shape. And then I'm also curling up the tips of the leaf a little bit as well, just to give them, you know, a little bit more interest in our final project here. So one by one, just taking those leaves and making sure that they're not, you know, super flat, giving them a little bit of life. And as I'm doing that, since I do have to go through each leaf one by one, I am just taking a second too here on the side of my screen here to kind of sort those back into their rainbow order so that they're going to be ready to adhere to my card. Now, because I wanted to do a round wreath on here, I wanted to find something that could kind of guide my shape of all these leaves. So off screen, I actually went ahead and die cut out this narrow circle frame. And I'm just going to go ahead and use that to kind of guide my wreath shape on this card. So one by one, I'm just taking each of these leaves and I'm going ahead and adding some of this scrapbook.com Smart Craft glue to about the bottom kind of 2/3 of the leaf, and then adhering that down along that frame. Once again, just using that frame as a guide as I move around the wreath. I found it easier to apply the liquid glue to the leaves as opposed to the frame. I found it to be a little bit less messy and a little bit easier to apply them this way. So as you can see, one by one, I'm just going to continue on overlapping those, gluing each one separately, overlapping it just a little bit. At this point in my wreath, I realized, oh no, I have glued the first few leaves a little bit too close together, and I actually ran out of leaves. So you can see I had a brief moment of panic there, and there's a gap in the leaves. So because I didn't have a perfect ink color to go in between those in rainbow order, what I actually did here is I took the yellowish leaf, inked up a new leaf in yellow, and then used that orangish color on top of it to kind of make a mixture of the two. So I think the yellow was chiffon, and then I went over it with maybe the Bellini ink, just to kind of give it a little tinge of other color on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of tuck that leaf here in the wreath, and no one will ever know that I didn't have an ink to fit in there. So just going to go ahead, sneak some liquid glue on that guy and tuck him in. Because he's the very last piece, I did want to just go and add a drip of glue just near the top of that leaf as well, just to make sure he's kind of secure and holding everything in place. At this point, I did realize I did glue him a little bit down to my grid mat. So I just took one of these distress needle tip tools and just used that to lightly lift the wreath off of my mat. So at this point here, I just wanted to test on my card to make sure everything's going to fit, and it looked pretty good. But at this point, that leaf wreath is it's pretty flimsy. It's not very secure, to be honest. So I wanted to give it a little bit of strength, and also I wanted to give it some more dimension on this card. So what I'm going to do here next is, you'll see here, I'm just going ahead and preparing my card base. But in a moment here, I'm going to show you how I went ahead and added some strength behind that wreath so that my card isn't going to fall apart in the mail. So before we get to that though, I did want to note here that I am just going to go ahead and take a second to glue that card front to the card base. Once again, I'm just using some more of that exact same scrapbook.com Smart Craft glue. It's a liquid adhesive. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick that card panel down. And once again, that's going to leave me just a teensy border all the way around my card front, because as I mentioned earlier, I did trim this panel down about 1/8 of an inch short on each side to give that really nice fine white detail border around the edges. So now I'm going to move back over to my wreath. I'm just once again giving you a sneak peek at what that is going to look like. So yeah, as I mentioned, I wanted to add some dimension and add some strength to this wreath. So I thought the best way to do that is going to be to add some foam adhesive to the back of this wreath. So what I have here is I just have some double-sided adhesive foam squares. These are also from scrapbook.com. They're just little tiny foam squares. And what I'm doing here is I'm just sticking those on the back of my wreath one by one. And when I'm doing that, I'm making sure that they overlap both that circle frame and my leaves, kind of to hold it all together and just make it a little bit more secure. So off screen, I did peel off the release paper from those little foam squares. And now I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that beautiful rainbow wreath around my sentiment. So at this point, honestly, I could have ended right here. It looks absolutely beautiful, but I thought, why not go ahead and add a little bit of sparkle to it? So I went ahead and pulled out these fun gem stickers. They're from Honeybee. They're just a rainbow pack of the gems. And I'm back with that same Tim Holtz tool. And one by one, I'm just going to go ahead and grab these teensy tiny gem stickers and kind of place them in and around my wreath. So because these also come in a rainbow assortment of colors, I'm just going ahead and kind of matching up these gems to the similar color families on the wreath, you know, kind of keeping with the whole rainbow spirit of the wreath. So I hope this card inspires you to maybe make some more fall cards. And, you know, let's be inspired by the changing leaf colors. And, you know, we don't have to stick to traditional leaves, but thought it would be fun here to do some rainbow leaves as well. So just going to give you a final sneak peek at today's project. Do want to remind you that if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up so that it can be shared to more viewers. And as well, if you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future crafty inspiration. Also, if you're looking for more card making videos, I invite you to check out the ones here on the screen. And until next time, I hope you are keeping it crafty. Bye!